Jeff the Killer is not a good creepypasta. When I say the story is bad, I mean bad. Not just on a storytelling level, but the mechanics of it. Spelling, grammatical errors, tense switching, and this weird phrasing. Jeff and his family had just moved into a new neighborhood. His dad had gotten a promotion at work, and they thought it would be best to live in one of those fancy neighborhoods. Jeff and his brother couldn't complain, though. What is there to complain about? Fancy neighborhood, I guess. Very plain descriptions and sentence structure. The story isn't even scary. The bully characters are cartoonishly evil. Despite living in an upper-class neighborhood, it's the kind of place where you get held up at gunpoint for lunch money at the bus stop, and people bring guns to a child's birthday party. You can tell this was written by someone who was younger and/or didn't have much experience with putting a story together. There's attention drawn to things that maybe don't need to be. I don't know why we needed descriptions of Jeff having to pick out something to wear to the small child's birthday party he's invited to, or him at the birthday party being offered to play cowboys with the other kids. It doesn't add anything, and don't tell me it's symbolism, because if an author spells the word juvie, J-U-V-Y, I don't think they were paying enough attention to the story to think of that. I've heard people point out how it's unusual to have Jeff and his parents invited to a little kid's party, and you know what, I agree, but in the author's defense, this is one weird part of the story that could be explained if the parents of the kids were like PTA people, or we saw more of the parents trying to fit in, maybe have that tie in thematically to Jeff's descent into madness, I don't know. I'm thinking about this too much, like the author thinking too much about how Jeff got his iconic white hoodie. We did not need an explanation for that. The way Jeff starts losing it comes out of nowhere. I dislike that trope wherein a main character with no previous psychological issues or history of violence discovers murder and it's like a drug and he gets addicted to it. I know the lazy alternative would be to make him, ooh, disturbed, he used to torture small animals, he came from a broken home. So I'm glad it's not that, but it makes it unbelievable if there's no basis for it in the story. And there's no slow decline after that. Jeff goes to the hospital and suddenly he's like, nyahaha, look at me mommy, I'm perfect, I cut my face off. I also think it's funny that the mom's reaction to this is to tell the dad to get the gun, not to help their kid. Funnily enough, there was a rewrite of the story in 2015 that added a lot more characterization, kind of like what I was talking about. Unfortunately, that version has its own problems and doesn't redeem the story by any means. I was surprised to find that Seswar person wasn't the originator of the story itself. His version of the Jeff mythos is far more comedic, wherein Jeff slips on a bar of soap and accidentally splashes the tub of acid he was carrying on his face. Yeah, all he had is the name. The brother Liu in the story and the picture. He's like the Bob Kane of Jeff the Killer. Jeff was a big hit. Like Slenderman, there are a lot of derivative works and spin-offs, other characters. I think the Jeff mythos, however, is harder to understand because while Slender has these definitive pockets of canon, like Marble Hornets or the Slender Mansion, the Jeff mythos is relatively more obscure. There's Jane the Killer, whose original story is a letter to Jeff. In line with most anime boy Jeff the Killer fan art, she also happens to be conventionally attractive, so you can have them ship together if you want. The killer OCs are something people used to complain about a lot, like Sonic or My Little Pony recolors. I do actually understand how it can dilute something with a more mature fanbase, but it's not really acceptable to go after this kind of thing anymore, so I won't. Honestly, I prefer the cartoony Eddsworld Jeff over the anime thing. I think it's really appealing how simple he looks. No doubt this originated from Pasta Monsters, but the reach of this design stretches outside there. Jeff the Killer blood woke up a ton of memories of these goofy creepypasta animations. Such a great time. I love the earnest quality of old Flash animations, and how it's recognized as an aesthetic now. People go a little overboard in places whenever they try to replicate it, in my opinion. Quit all the awesome faces and extreme outs. All you really need is that classic square brush and a basic knowledge of tweening to make something in line with the times. That's why they call it classic tween in newer versions of Flash. I don't remember Jeff the Killer awoken by this, but the creator did everything in their power to make it look like it was stolen from 3 other things. It's like when you see pictures pre-2020 that retroactively look like AI. The inconsistent art style, subtitles that don't match with the song, the watermark that isn't the creator's current username. I was ready to go on a lost media hunt, but there it is. Most of Jeff the Killer's modern reputation comes from the image, which is still frightening to a lot of people. As of writing this, they haven't found that original unedited picture of whoever this is, but according to a video by some ordinary gamers, there's a chance it's lost forever. The biggest lead is this Japanese internet figure Mariko, who fell into this whole predicament and ended with people back then agreeing to scrub as many pictures of her off the web as possible. So if it is Mariko, then that probably means it's lost for good. Whoops. The Jeff story met the fate of a lot of once iconic pastas, with the likes of Sonic.exe and the government wants your penis. Jeff the Killer has fared better in reputation, I like to think because of nostalgia and the mystery surrounding the image, also because no real life incidents happened based on him. What?